Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
This is your host, Charlotte Canion, and my book is an award-winning book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. And it's my honor this evening to speak with Dr. Ellie Phillips, and she has several books, and we'll be discussing throughout the interview. Miss Ellie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. Terrific.
I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your family and your background.
I'd be delighted to. I've had a very long career. I grew up in England, which is why I have this peculiar accent. And in England in the 50s, when I was growing up, it was very difficult for women to get into certain jobs. And to get into dentistry, which is what I ended up doing, you had to go to a special board. There were two schools in England that got people into dental school. It was, so I was sent to boarding school. I spent my life in boarding school, and it was very, very hard. When I finally graduated, I worked in Europe for a while and then came to America. And that was there. I brought up 5 children in upstate New York. And I'm absolutely thrilled to say that they decided they would come to college, most of them here in Texas. My son didn't come to college here in Texas, but he ended up in Texas. So all 5 children, 4 live in Austin, Texas now, which is where I now live. And 1 is in San Antonio, which is only an hour away. And I actually have 8 grandchildren, despite the fact that I was told at 28 years old that I would never have children. So my philosophy is never believe what you've been told if it's negative.
Don't listen to your doctors.
Well, I'm going to tell you about dentistry, but that was probably one of my first experiences of saying, you know, I really believed I would never have children. And I actually became very focused on children's dentistry and special needs children. As a consequence of that, I thought I would work with children to make up for not having any. My career evolved, and I ended up doing geriatric dentistry and pediatric dentistry and cosmetic dentistry and pretty much every field of dentistry. But that was my reason initially for getting involved with children and children's care. So my life really worked out. I mean, I'm so blessed and so happy, and it's all been wonderful. So.
Well, when did you decide you wanted to start writing a book, or have you always been a writer?
It's kind of interesting. I'm absolutely not a writer. Believe me, when I went to this boarding school, the reason they got children or girls into these difficult professions, and there were 7 women and 700 men at dental school, medical school when I went in London. I mean, it was 1%. It was nobody, and they didn't want us there. So we had to have very strong grades, your sort of 4.0 equivalent, at college level in physics, chemistry, biology, and Latin. And so at age, I think I was about 13 when I gave up English and geography and history and these writing subjects. So I had no background in English, really, except for conversational English. I was very much trained in the sciences. And so when it came about and I noticed that there needed to be a conversation, there needed to be a book about dentistry, I believed, in America. And there wasn't one. And I think it's actually the author that died today, or yet it was yesterday or today, Terry Morrison, actually said, if there's a book to be written and you notice that, and it's not being written, you need to write it. And that's how it came about. I felt it was my duty to inform people about the science of teeth and mouth health that really wasn't reaching anybody. It wasn't reaching dentists. I was aware of this as the faculty at the University of Rochester and interviewing top students that were leaving dental school. And they had no idea that cavities could reverse. They had no idea. And I had been reversing cavities for over a decade. And I had worked in Switzerland, in Europe, where nobody flossed, and yet everybody had beautiful teeth. And there were all these discrepancies between the way prevention is carried out in Europe and other countries, and what I saw occurring in America, which is very much cosmetic. People want to look good. They're very happy to have crowns and bridges, and your work here is unbelievable. But when you have a crown or a bridge or a filling done, it does not deal with the underlying reason for the damage in the first place. It's cosmetic. It's a Band-Aid over a wound or something much deeper. It's an infection that needs to be corrected. And I was very upset not to find this teaching anywhere, not even in dental schools in America.
Really?
And there were so many studies from the 70s, and I came to America in 1980. And these studies kept on improving our knowledge, and yet they were not seen. And in 2002, I went to a symposium about mouth health. And all the things that I knew were being confirmed at this meeting in Bethesda in Maryland. And the Surgeon General, Richard Carmona of the time, wrote a review about oral health in America, saying everything that I knew I wanted to say in my book. And so when my first book was finally published, which was 2010, I finally published Kiss Your Dentist Goodbye. It is endorsed by Richard Carmona, who had written a review of the state of dentistry in America at that time, saying there's so much science, there's so much knowledge that just isn't reaching either practitioners or the public. And the reason for that is it's very difficult to integrate what I know into a lucrative, busy dental practice in America. It's counterintuitive, it's different from what you've been told, it isn't necessarily money-making, there's risk involved. If you have somebody with a cavity and you send them home to repair their cavity, the person is excited. But you see, if your dentist has never seen or witnessed cavities reversing, all they've ever seen in America appears to be teeth getting worse and worse and worse. So they think you going home is going to end up with you having a bigger cavity or more damage. So don't blame your dentist. They have never been trained in this. They have never witnessed it often. And they don't really understand this ecological science, the biochemistry, which is what I studied by chance before I became a dentist.
Oh,
and that was because
that is so interesting. Now, I have to share something with you. I'm 73 years old and I've never had a cavity. So evidently, I accidentally have done the principles that are laid out in your book. I need to read your book and see what I did.
Well, there's a certain amount of, there are things that are fortuitous, you could say. Good luck. You may have the right saliva. You may have the right lip structure. You may have good sinus health so that you're breathing through your nose and not through your mouth. Mm-hmm. The two things that damage teeth the most are acidity, or things that damage teeth or push the environment of your mouth in bad direction, is acidity and dry mouth. If you have those two factors. So somebody can have a sinus problem and they're breathing through their mouth, they're drying their mouth. And without your own natural saliva helping you, it's very easy to develop cavities. One of my daughters has a short upper lip. So she's very prone to getting a cavity on her front teeth. I have reversed twice a cavity on her front teeth by noticing it early enough and saying, you got to get back on my system. You've got to get back to basics. And when she does, that's the cool thing, because cavities, your whole mouth health is dynamic. Gum disease and cavities can be reversed when your mouth is healthy. And you never hear that. You never hear that.
So you wrote Kiss Your Dentist Goodbye.
I did. My mother was really mad with me. She didn't like the title. I wanted somebody to buy my book. I didn't mind if it was 10 people. It had taken me about 10 years to write. I felt it was valuable. I wrote the title not to upset people intentionally, but to grab attention. So that the people who were sick and tired of always having cavities filled, there are women out there who've had cavities filled and refilled, and their teeth are broken, and they've ended up with root canals, and then they've had crowns, and then they've been told they have gum disease, and they need cleanings instead of every 6 months, every 4 months, every 3 months. These were the people that I wrote the book for.
So you actually wrote the book for the masses.
Well, I was hoping Ted
would
buy it. Actually, it's done.
You're not writing it for the dentist. Do you have a practicing dentist? I mean, do you
have a practice? I don't anymore. Last year, my license expired.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have people all through my life in different fields.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be going to a commercial real quick. I'd like you to share maybe one thing that we should not drink that would upset our mouths. Is there just one?
You're going to be totally shocked. You should not drink water all the time, because your saliva is your healing tool for your teeth and your gums. It's full of its cells and immune cells and nutrients, and it's like the ocean to a coral reef. Your saliva is valuable. You don't want to keep thinning it, even with water. Of course, if that water is acidified, if you put a lemon wedge in there, if you've got a sparkling water, it's acidic. Your best thing is to eat and drink at meal times, and then try not to drink anything between meals. And you can drink whatever you like at meal times. I don't care. It's just as bad to drink fruit juice as it is to drink a Coca-Cola. I mean, I'm not endorsing Coca-Cola, but, really enjoy your meals. And then we'll talk more when we come back.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Yes, y'all need to stay tuned, because we're going to get our mouths just working perfectly and keep our teeth forever. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Dr. Ellie Phillips in just a moment.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Charbonneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lecter, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have 2 new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Thank you for watching or listening to this show. Indie Lecter is proud to sponsor this programming. As a thank you for listening or watching, we would like to give you a 10% coupon code that you can use on our bookstore at indielecter.store. Use coupon code video19. Again, that's indielecter.store, coupon code video19 for a 10% discount on any purchase. Thank you.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow.
This is Charlotte Canion. Welcome back. We're just having a great time with Dr. Ellie Phillips. She's telling us how to have really good mouth health.
There you
go. Can you tell us a little more about your books? And now how many books do you have?
Well, I wrote a number of booklets and a small book about a product called xylitol, which is a sugar from birch trees, which is very central to the preventive programs that are used in Europe for children and adults. And we can talk about that in a minute. But I wrote those booklets, and the book never really went anywhere. And so I decided I would write a book. Initially, the Kiss Your Dentist Goodbye was going to be called No More Cavities. And I really went after trying to get a publisher to take it on. And in those days, this is early 2000s, there'd never been a book about teeth that was popular. I mean, there was very little interest, and I was turned down, and I walked from place to place in New York and met people, and I was very discouraged. And that's when I decided that I would just go ahead, and I published this one with a Austin author, Austin publishers here, Greenleaf. And as I say, the book has really been, it continues to be useful to people. I receive very encouraging emails about people who've been greatly helped. However, we have a lot more science. And as I mentioned, the book was the science of how teeth reverse. It was really the chemistry of this dynamic shift that happens in your mouth. Every time your mouth is dry, it's not being able to heal itself. Every time your mouth is acidic, minerals are being pulled out of your teeth. And the idea is that you alkalize your mouth with your good saliva, alkaline good saliva, which is generated by your nutrition, your circulation, lots of other factors connect together. Like an evaporation chart, really, what you eat gets absorbed and then shuffles around your body, and your salivary glands are nestled really in a nest, a capillary nest full of blood vessels, and the transfer of nutrients from your blood into your saliva then comes out in your mouth to heal, and your immune system cells, the same thing. So your mouth is unbelievably valuable. When the health of your mouth is very dependent on healthy saliva, and it changes. As you know, when you're scared, your mouth can dry up. Stress and this has a response. In the same way, if you look at your food before you start eating, if you don't give thanks, it might be a good idea to consider it, because as you look at your food, there is I don't know exactly how long it takes, but there's a matter of maybe 30 seconds to a minute where if you look at your food, the quality of your saliva can become changed, more appropriate for the digestion of that specific food. I mean, that's how unbelievable this whole thing is. And at the end of your meal, most food that we eat create acidity in our mouths. And I was giving a talk on Sunday, and a gentleman said, yes, his dentist had said, do not brush your teeth after eating 45 minutes to an hour so that your mouth will not be acidic when you brush your teeth. I think a lot of people in America have been trained to brush their teeth at the end of a meal. The problem is that if your mouth is acidic, you brush your teeth, you will wear away the enamel of your teeth. You will actually not have a cavity, but you will damage the quality of the enamel of your teeth. And so dentists have been telling patients, don't brush straight away, wait for an hour. Now, I tell patients, don't wait for an hour. That's horrible. Your teeth, if you eat 4 times a day, are going to go through 4 hours of damage. You need to learn how to alkalize your mouth quickly and avoid that damage. And that is really how this amazing product, xylitol, came to be my most favorite product. And what this sugar does, it's a sugar that was originally produced for diabetics, commercially produced for diabetics. It's from birch trees, silver birch trees, the trees with the silver bark. And Native Americans used to just chew on toothpicks made from birch trees. That's how they kept their teeth healthy. They would give their babies to chew on a piece of birch wood, this silver birch. And there are many, many cultures, and particularly in Finland, where the sugar is wiped on baby teeth to ensure that they will not get damaged. and so forth. So the first book was very much about how to use xylitol, because one of the things xylitol does is it increases the flow of alkaline saliva in your mouth. Just a few crystals. And so at the end of a meal, if you put a few crystals, or, commercially you can buy mints and gum with xylitol, and you have one of these immediately at the end of your meal, you don't have to wait an hour. Your mouth is instantly alkalized. You save yourself many hours of unnecessary damage.
Wow.
So that was the focus of Kiss Your Dentist Goodbye. How to use these little tips and tricks to reduce the damage and increase the healing power that you yourself have when it's generated by the correct strategies.
Well, now, do you speak out do you give talks on your topics?
Well, I used to. I'm worried because I'm now 70, and I'm saying, how many more years can I go on?
Well, you and I need to team up, because the seniors, and I'm thinking, if they haven't already lost, and there might be people like me that still have their teeth and all. I think this would be fascinating.
Well, it's so important because, again, my next book is even more important, because my second book, Mouth Care Comes Clean.
Mouth Care Comes Clean?
Yes. And this is completely different. I'd say it's probably the prequel to my first book, but we didn't have the science. And what this Mouth Care Comes Clean explains is what we now know about the biology of the mouth. Not the chemistry as much, not what I spoke about in the first book, this acid, it is involved, because the acidity of your mouth drives the biology of your mouth. The more acidic your mouth, the worse the bacteria types that will be found living in your mouth. And today what we discovered, which is so exciting, in 2007, which my first book was published 2010, so it was too early to really explain to the public. I'm sure you've heard there are in your digestive tract good and bad bacteria.
You need both, yes.
And you need more good ones than bad ones.
Right.
And in your mouth, it is exactly the same, believe it or not. You shouldn't be surprised. It's the beginning of your digestive tract. And in a healthy mouth, there are between 700 and 900 kinds of good bacteria. In an unhealthy mouth, there may be a dozen to 20 bad bacteria. And dentistry, for the past 100 years, didn't know about the good bacteria. So they have focused on cleanings, killings, chlorhexidine, strong fluoride treatments, antibiotics, antibiotic rinses, things that are designed to wipe out bacteria.
Yeah.
And what we now know, for example, somebody with bad breath usually has a paucity, a very few kinds of bacteria. Their bacterial fingerprint has been damaged, often because they got bad breath and they're trying to use everything. Some people even use bleach, dilute bleach. Yeah, because they're so paranoid to get rid of bacteria. Some dentists even
whiten their teeth with peroxide. I would think peroxide.
I would never. If you whiten your teeth with peroxide with whitening, there are several things you should know. Number one, if you've got silver mercury fillings in your teeth, the amalgam fillings, the mercury is drawn out by the peroxide. So that's the first thing you should be very cautious about using peroxide if you have silver fillings in your mouth. Don't rush to have them changed to white, because the white fillings have a BPA estrogen mimicking hormone disrupting mechanism that, especially if you're a woman, you may not want.
Ellie, I hate to interrupt you. This is interesting, but we've got to go to another commercial. But this is just really exciting. Everyone needs to stay tuned with Dr. Ellie.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? I'm Charlotte Canion, award-winning author of the book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. That was a question I had to ask myself some 16 years ago, and you'll have to ask the same question. I had a father-in-law with dementia, a mother with Alzheimer's, and a dad with Parkinson, all at the same time.
What would you do if you found out everyone on the town council were thieves and murderers? That's what happened in Bandera, Texas in 1873. John Cruder was the marshal, yet he needed to operate outside the law in order to balance the scales of justice. He is the Midnight Marauder. You can find his books on Amazon.com and TopWesterns.com in paperback, digital, and audio. I'm Roy Clinton, and I hope you'll read The Midnight Marauder.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back. This is Charlotte Canion, and I'm speaking with Dr. Ellie Phillips. This has been fascinating. Dr. Ellie, we only have a few minutes left in our interview, and I'm sorry that it's over because this has just been fascinating.
I have some books you can read.
yes, I think you need to tell us a little bit, show your books again and tell us where we can find your books. And, if you can give us an idea of, you mentioned earlier something that you said we could drink that was better for us. I mean, I'm going to ask you if milk is good for us.
Sure. In my book, Mouth Care Comes Clean, and I would suggest most people begin with this book.
Okay.
There is diet, nutrition, it's all explained. Food pairings that will help your immune system to then help your gums heal if you have gum disease. I have a website, my drellie.com website is pretty full with information. And we recently launched a video course if somebody wanted to dive in and learn more about regrowing bone, how the mouth naturally heals. This is the message I want people to understand. Don't believe that because you've got gum disease, you have to go through the surgeries, the cleanings, the ongoing treatments, because you can reverse it and you can hold your mouth in a state of health. I know that you looked after your parents, and that's what your book is about. And my mother, when she was 45 in England, was told to have all her teeth taken out because she had periodontal disease, she had gum disease. And that's what they did in England. Now, all my family had early onset dementia. When I was at dental school, I learned about a study being done in a convent where they found that these nuns, the earlier they lost all their teeth, the higher their risk for dementia. Now, they didn't know any more about it then. Today, we know there's a lot more connecting the bad bacteria in your mouth. These very few bad bacteria are very connected with heart health, brain health, joint health, autoimmune problems, digestive problems. This is why you need to get your mouth tested, which is why this book talks about how you do that. It's a saliva test. You spit into a test tube. You find out what is your mouth health. It's invisible. You can't wait for somebody to find it for you because dentists today are not trained. They don't know what to do if they find it. And I'm going to say to you that I do know what to do because my mother, who was 45, I didn't want her to have all her teeth taken out and have full dentures at 45 because I had seen these aunts in my family that all had dentures. I was convinced that there was a high risk. So I took my mother as a dental student and took care of her teeth. Now she lost some of them because some of them were so bad by then, but we saved a number of teeth. And you can, as long as you save a certain number, she died here in Austin, 2016, with the same number of teeth that she had saved when she was 50 years later, with minimal dentistry.
That is just fabulous.
And my book is dedicated to my mother.
Your book, Mouth Care Comes Clean, is is a must read for everyone. I think they need to read it to them in elementary school so they can get started with it.
Well,
Dr. Ellie Phillips, this has been a fabulous interview, and I hate to cut it short, but we've almost run out of time, and I want to thank you for sharing your story. And you've actually given me a lot of encouragement that I must be doing something right, that I still have all my teeth. And
you bet. And look after them and make sure, go get the test done to make sure that under the gums
any
is
dentists do that. Why are they not changing the training? I just don't know, but that's another story we need to come to
another book.
program. Anyway, I just want to say thank you again, and if anyone's interested, repeat your website one more time.
It's Dr. Ellie, DRELLIE.com. And there are lots of resources there, that you can read. But if you like video, I have put, and I'm still putting all my training into some fairly simple videos that you can keep for life. You can go back and review.
Well, we really appreciate you. And this is Charlotte Canion again. And I wanted to thank Dr. Ellie one more time. It's been a fabulous show, and I've learned so much. But I want you to remember one thing. A rose is like a book. You can't know its beauty until you look at it. And a book is like a rose. You won't know its full beauty till you open it. This is Charlotte Canion saying bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website at indiebeacon.com.